So welcome to my YouTube channel. Finally got around to doing it. And the first thing that I'm going to do, that I promised that I would do, is a little critique video of my performance at the Amataeur Olympia in Italy, where I placed first in my class, went on to the overall but didn't get the pro card. I'm going to try and keep this really brief. This is very cringe for me, like going through my routine, because there are quite a few things that I did wrong, even though I coach posing and I've been posing for 5-6 years. Once you get up there in that kind of pressurized environment, it's very easy to forget things and drop things, and I did many. So I only got this video from the videographer a few days ago anyway, had some time to go through it, stop cringing so much, and I'm going to run through it very, very quickly. All the things that I'm trying to change for next time. There are a lot of things that I want to change with my physique, a lot of things I want to change with my posing. I've got about 10 days now until the next show, so probably won't get to do them all, but hopefully I will have instilled some of the points in my head now, having watched it, that I am doing this wrong or dropping certain things. So let's get through it very, very quickly, hopefully. Here she comes. So the walk, not a bad walk. It was a little bit fast, but we did get told literally as we were going on, you've got 15 seconds, that's it. And they were trying to rush us through it. So I think I panicked a little bit. I would like to have it a little bit slower, a little bit more sway, a little bit more swagger. I have my glute a little bit more side on to the judges. I'm walking diagonally here, so it's not completely possible to have that side wiggle walk as I go across, but I will try and angle it a little bit better for the Alicante show. Boom. The first thing that we notice is this pose here. Okay, so very, very quickly, when we're in the UK, we walk in, we walk in, if you're the audience looking at the stage, we walk in from the left, do our routine, and walk off to the right. That's what I've been practicing all this year. And when we got here, it was the opposite way around. To people who have never done posing before and never done a show before, that probably sounds really easy. But a bit like Derek Zoolander, I can only turn one way. So again, literally that an hour before stage, I was having to practice sort of going on and transitioning a different way to get into my front pose. So I went into my first transition pose, which is here. It's not too bad. It gets a little bit worse as the routine goes on. The first thing first is this toe here. This foot should be a little more in the middle of the back foot. So you can see they're slightly crossed over here. You want them so that the back shin is completely hidden behind the front shin, basically. And that foot is in the middle of the back foot. And then I should have this glute lifted a little bit higher to give us more of a C curve here. Tighten that waist up a little bit more. Not too bad though. And then we go into the front pose. Right, if I'm honest, very, very happy with this front pose. There are a few things that I would like to tweak. I would have this toe a little more pointing towards the judges. There are a lot of people who like to pose with their leading foot, the front foot, parallel to the judge, so facing side stage. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I personally don't like that in my posing and a lot of my clients' posing, because I feel like that exposes too much of your waist. It makes your waist look a lot bigger, and it ruins your proportions. You look a lot more chunky. I'm a short person, and I'm a very muscly short person. So I tend to look very squat on stage and very compact. I would love to look long and lean and, you know, have beautiful feminine lines. I'm very compact. So I cannot afford to have a chunky waist. I also have a lot of muscle on my abs, on my obliques, as you can see here, and have really, really thick erectors. So, you know, the muscles at the bottom of your spine, they're about 2 inches thick. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that adds 2 inches to your waist. And if you're side on, the judges can see that and your waist looks like a trunk. So for me, having this toe here, pointing towards the judges, and then pulling this glute round towards the judges, tightens the waist, whilst hiding as much of these erectors as we can. It just gives it a much nicer shape. So I will try and pull that toe around a little bit more. In the comparisons, this toe more and more starts to go parallel to the judges. You start to see a lot more of like my erectors, and my waist gets a lot more chunky. I have another issue where I have quite slack muscles down here in my lower abs. In some of the shots, it looks like I'm holding water. I'm not actually holding water, and I'm not sticking my belly out, but my muscles, they kind of like bulge out a bit in my lower abs. And that is because my muscles in my lower back are so tight. I've got slight lordosis anyway, but from all my posing practice, I was constantly walking around with this curve in my back, which tightens all these muscles, gives me back pain. It also starts to slacken the muscles down here, so these get looser, and it can give you this appearance of a little bit of a bulge in your lower belly. So I'm probably not going to be able to fix that by Alicante, but I'm spending a lot of time at the moment doing breath work, doing vacuums, and really trying to work on my core control. I really like this front pose. I really like this front pose. I'm really happy with it. Just want to make my waist a tiny bit smaller. So again, I'm spending less time doing my posing practice at the moment and spending a lot more time on flexibility and mobility for me to be able to contort my body, you know, so turning this upper body more towards the judges and screwing this waist in, like being able to hold it really tight. The only other thing here as well is I'm covering my glutes here with my hand. I know why I'm doing that. I'm really a little bit annoyed with myself because it gets worse again through my routine. I cover more and more of my glute, but I know why that I'm doing it, and that's because I have quite big delts, which never used to be a problem in bikini, but now they're starting to tell girls, you know, we want smaller delts. So I was trying not to flare my delts out too much by having my hand out. And what that did is covered my glutes. So I need to work on that as well. From a kind of physique perspective, I'm going to try not to pump up my glutes, my delts quite so much backstage for the next show. I'm also not going to train them during peak week, I don't think. I don't want them to look flat. I don't want them to look too much smaller, but just take their eyes away from the delts a little bit more. Lastly, the only other thing that I want to point out here is my face. I'm 40 years old. I have a few more lines and wrinkles than the other girls, and I decided to do my own makeup because it was a bit of a nightmare trying to get a makeup artist out there. I mean, the lighting is quite harsh on stage. Obviously, it's there to pull out all your muscles by, you know, being really downlit. All of the girls on stage had a lot of shadows on their face, you know, even the girls in their 20s. So I shouldn't critique myself too much there. But a lesson learned going forwards, I'm always going to really try hard to get someone professional to do my makeup. They can't take the shadows off my face, but anything that they can do to make my face look a little bit brighter and youthful is always good. So lesson learned there. All right, so again, back into this transition pose. As I said, it starts to get a little bit worse. This toe, this foot, this heel should be in the center of this one. Those knees, this knee should be covering that knee. That shin should almost be hidden by the one in front. This glute should be lifted for a nice C curve there, and that should bring that waist in and make it look a bit tighter. You can already see here, you can see a bit of slackness in my stomach. Again, as we walked on, they said you've got 15 seconds. I was powering through this quite fast, and yeah, this is the really big thing I think about my presentation that I don't like. Loving the hair flick. This transition pose, I should be lifting the glute a little bit too much, and a little bit more. This knee should be hidden behind that one, but also bear in mind the videographer is slightly off to the right here, so it's not quite the right angle, but I can still do better here. More C curve in the back, glute lifted, try and hide this foot a little bit more. Pull this elbow out, straighten that arm. Back pose. It's not perfect, but it's very, very, very good, if I don't say myself. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Just tighten that transition up a little bit more. And again, that transition pose, just lift the glute ever so slightly. That transition pose, or the S pose as we call it, again, as I said, knee covering that knee, that foot in the middle of the back foot. More curve needed here, glute needs to be lifted. I should also be smiling more through this, but I was petrified, if I'm honest. And that's it. The comparisons are much the same. Like I said, I start to really cover my glutes here. Really need to work on that. Also, my right shoulder in the comparison realm, for some reason, it's a lot higher than here. And you can see my waist is starting to look a bit bigger. That's because you can't see my toe here, but it's pointing off towards side stage, exposing a bit more of the erector, showing that I've got a little bit of slack muscle here. And I believe that's also what's kind of driving the slope in my shoulders. So it's something to work on. And I think the last thing I just want to point out is, after I get my middle, yeah, oh. The walk off. As you can see, I have a few wrinkles in my underbum. Again, older lady, I'm in my 40s now. I never used to have that a couple of years ago when I was last on stage. It's appeared in my 40s. Not a huge amount I can do about it, other than try and pump my glutes up a little bit more and try and walk with my glutes lifted more. I noticed this even before I went to Italy. When I was practicing at home, I could see this wrinkle and it was starting to really upset me. Like I said, I can't get rid of it. I just need to really push those glutes out, walk very, very slowly, and hope that the judges don't mark me down on it. But I'm imagining in the overall, this was one of the points that kind of pushed me down the scale away from pro card, because in the overall, they have you do the front and the back comparison, but also walk away from the judges. So that is something that I'm really, really going to work on, is my walk away, keeping the glutes lifted, pushed out, popping, nice and slow, take my time. Hopefully that was helpful, and fingers crossed I can at least improve on that for Alicante. Be nice to come home with a pro card, but if I'm honest, I'm just really, really loving the process again. It's just great being on stage, being around all the sparkly girls, being back on rice cakes, loving it. Until next time, bye.